If you've been scrolling through endless listings, watching a dozen YouTube demos, and still feel that uneasy gut pull of what if I pick the wrong cutter, you're not alone. The plasma cutter market is a maze of power ratings, brand names you've never heard of, and promises of industrial-grade performance in a compact box. The fear of shelling out cash only to end up with a tool that sputters, overheats, or can't handle the thickness of the metal you actually need to cut is real. That's why I'm breaking down the Fusswhip LGK Cut Plasma Cutter the way a seasoned hobbyist would, looking at daily usability, hidden trade-offs, and who really gets value from it. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's set the scene. You're a weekend metal fabricator, a DIY enthusiast building a custom bike frame, or maybe a small shop owner who needs a portable cutter for occasional repairs. You probably have a MIG welder or a basic angle grinder, but those tools either eat up a lot of power or produce ragged edges that need a lot of cleanup. A plasma cutter promises narrow seams, clean cuts, and the ability to work on steel up to a few millimeters thick without the fuss of a torch. The Fusswhip LGK Cut tries to deliver that in a package that's light enough to slip into the back of a pickup, yet claims enough power for most hobbyist jobs. The first practical strength you'll notice is the IGBT inverter technology. In layman's terms, that means the unit runs at a lower audible pitch compared to older transformer-based cutters. I've used a few budget models that sound like a lawnmower revving up every time you fire the arc. The LGK Cut stays relatively quiet, which is a subtle but welcome relief when you're cutting in a shared garage or a residential area with thin walls. The quiet operation isn't just about comfort, it also indicates that the inverter is handling the power conversion efficiently, which translates into lower energy consumption. If your workshop runs on a standard 110-volt circuit, you won't be tripping breakers as easily as you might with a higher draw machine. Next, the built-in air pump is a design choice that speaks directly to convenience. Many plasma cutters require an external air compressor, adding bulk and the need to manage hoses and extra power sources. The LGK Cut's integrated pump means you only need a single outlet and a single cord. In practice, I've seen users set it up on a workbench, plug it into a typical wall socket, and start cutting within minutes. The pump's flow rate is modest but adequate for the cutter's power band, so you won't be throttling the arc for thin sheet metal. However, that convenience comes with a trade-off. The pump's output is limited compared to a dedicated compressor, so if you try to cut very thick plate, say 12 millimeters or more, you'll notice the arc losing stability faster than on a high-flow system. For most hobbyist projects, think automotive brackets, decorative panels, or light structural work, that limitation is hardly a deal-breaker, but it's something to keep in mind if you anticipate heavy-duty use. Precision is another area where the LGK Cut shows its worth. The narrow seam claim isn't marketing fluff. The cutter's torch tip, combined with the inverter's rapid voltage control, produces a tight kerf that reduces material waste. In a small shop setting where you're cutting 2 mm steel for a custom bracket, the difference between a 3 mm and a 1.5 mm kerf can be the difference between a part that fits perfectly and one that needs re-drilling. Users have reported clean edges that need little to no grinding before finishing, which saves time in a workflow where you might be moving from cut to weld to paint in quick succession. Protection features are built into the unit's electronics. Overcurrent, overvoltage, and thermal safeguards all trigger automatically. In real use, that means you can push the cutter for a few minutes, step away, and let the internal fan and heatsink do their job without fearing a catastrophic failure. The heat dissipation system, a combination of a sizable aluminum housing and a fan, keeps the internal temperature in check even during continuous cuts on 5 mm steel. That robustness is a comfort for anyone who doesn't want to babysit the machine every 5 minutes. Now, let's talk about who should actually buy this thing. If you're a hobbyist who already owns a welder and needs a clean, portable way to slice sheet metal, the LGK Cut is a solid addition. Its low noise, integrated air pump, and precise cuts make it a time saver for small projects. Likewise, a small automotive repair shop that occasionally needs to trim rusted panels will appreciate the portability, no need to haul a bulky compressor around. On the other hand, if you run a full-scale fabrication shop that regularly cuts thick plate, you'll likely feel the pump's limits and the cutter's power ceiling. For those scenarios, a higher capacity, industrial-grade plasma system with a dedicated compressor would be more cost-effective in the long run. Practical weaknesses are